All right, lesson 92, recognizing adverbs. Adverbs are words that usually modify a verb, but they can also modify some other things as well. So, usually they modify verbs, but they can also modify other adverbs or adjectives. So, adverbs can modify verbs, adverbs, or adjectives. An adverb of degree modifies an adverb or an adjective. An adverb can also modify a verbal. And we'll show you how that works later in the lesson. All right. Now, let's get into this. Adverbs that modify verbs. These are the ones that are most common with. Words like not, never, ever, almost, always, hardly, scarcely, seldom are always adverbs. All right? So, when you hear a sentence like I can not sing, not modifies can sing, and it's an adverb. And that's the one you're going to be pretty common. Basically, you want to find your adverb and then say, what is it modifying? What is it talking? What is it? If the word it seems to be modifying or telling to what degree is a verb, then you know it's an adverb for sure. If it's an adjective, you know it's an adverb, or if it's an adverb, you know it's an adverb. Adverbs that modify adjectives and other adverbs, adverbs of degree. So completely, dangerously. There's a list in your book on 464. Definitely, entirely, especially, extraordinarily. So their example they have there is Samson's life is rather disappointing. So the subject in that sentence is life, the verb is, and then disappointing would be an adjective, a predicate adjective describing his life. So Samson's life is disappointing. Now, you think about that, you think, Samson's life is rather disappointing. Is it rather is or is it rather disappointing? Rather tells to what degree it is disappointing. So it would go right here, rather, and another hint that it's an adverb is it modifies an adjective, a predicate adjective to be exact. Now, if it modifies an adverb, it gets diagrammed a little differently, or it can also modify an adjective. So they have another example there in your lesson. Suddenly an extremely bright light blinded Saul. So I'll just give you the skeleton. So we have light, blinded, direct object, Saul, bright light, and then extremely bright. To what degree bright? Extremely bright. So you have to diagram it under that adjective. All right. Adjectives never modify adjectives. If something modifies an adjective, it is an adverb. All right. Now, moving on to adverbs that modify verbals. In your lesson, you can see the first example they have here is speaking kindly often prevents troubles. Speaking kindly often prevents troubles. So, in this case, speaking is your verbal functioning as the subject. Speaking prevents, and then they have the rest there. But kindly speaking, since the subject is a verbal, kindly is an adverb because it modifies a verbal, which is kind of like a verb. That's why adverbs modify them and not adjectives. Adjectives modify nouns. All right, I'm just going to go into your lesson, and I have a couple written out here ready just to kind of give you a little idea how this works. So number one, certainly God can never fail. They've already underlined the adverbs for you. They want you to copy that. So for your number one, you should have something like this. Certainly and never. Then they want to know, does it modify verb, adjective, adverb, or verbal? So let's look at this one. Certainly. Certainly, God can never fail. So certainly what? Certainly God, or certainly can fail? Well, it can't modify God anyway, because God is a noun, subject. So, certainly can fail. Certainly modifies the verb. Never can fail. Also says to what degree he can fail. Never. And that one would be the verb as well. Now, I also wrote down number 7. The stranger spoke nervously and haltingly. Now, to what degree? This is explaining what? Well, it's saying to what degree he spoke. He spoke nervously and haltingly spoke. So you'll write nervously. There again, it's the verb. Haltingly. And you'll write yours out. I'm kind of abbreviating here not to take up too much time. Alright? You can see how that works. So that part shouldn't be too hard. I shouldn't have picked both ones that modify verbs. Let's just go to number 4. Thinking so foolishly invites discontentment. Thinking so foolishly. So, the first one is so, and that one modifies foolishly. They have foolishly underlined, so you already know that that's an adverb. So foolishly says to what degree foolishly. So is going to be modifying an adverb. But then foolishly, if you look in your book there, modifies what? It modifies thinking. It's to what degree is thinking foolishly. Thinking, in this case, if you look carefully, is a gerund that's functioning as the subject. It's a verbal. So in that one, foolishly would modify thinking, which is a verbal, so foolishly modifies a verbal. Here, let's do number 6 in part B. So, what's the subject in this sentence? Children. So that's a noun. Children dashed is the verb. The children's an adjective for children. Alright, so we have these 3 words to check out as far as are they adverbs. In part B here, they want you to write each adverb and the word it modifies. So yesterday, what does yesterday modify? Well, it says when. Good sign it's an adverb because adverbs often tell when or where or to what degree. So when dashed. So this would modify dashed. It tells when they dashed. So that is an adverb. So for number 6, you'll write down yesterday and modifies dashed. Eagerly tells to what degree or how they dashed. They dashed eagerly. So it should be eagerly, actually, sorry. Eagerly, and again dashed. Outside, it says where. Again, where they dashed. All of these happen to modify the same one. It's not going to always be that way. So, that's your 3 for number 6. Yesterday tells where. Eagerly tells to what degree. Outside says where. Actually, yesterday says when. Alright, then part C, they want you to diagram these sentences. So just be careful here. Usually y'all do pretty good at diagramming, but think about what each thing modifies to know where it goes. So we have man's heart is desperately wicked. So subject, heart. Verb is. Adjective, wicked. Explaining heart. Alright. Now, man's heart. Possessive noun makes it an adjective. Man's heart is desperately wicked. Desperately, what's that modifying? That's modifying this adjective, so it would be an adverb. Desperately wicked. And that's probably the easiest diagram in the lesson, but that's how it's going to work. Diagram. Now, if there would be an adverb that would modify this adjective, it would go down here. Same way, if there would be an adverb that would modify this adverb, it would go down here. Be careful for verbals. There is at least one verbal. There's a verbal in number 1, there's a verbal in number 3, and there's a verbal in number 5. So be careful with that. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask, and I'll try to help you.